At DreamHack Atlanta, there was the United States Magic Regional Championship, an exclusive tournament where players could earn a spot to the Pro Tour. At the event, we interviewed Jim Davis, a professional Magic player and content creator. In this video, we asked him about the Pioneer deck he brought to the tournament. Let's see what it's all about.
Basically, it's a tournament where all the best players in the world from different countries and everything come in the same room and play the game that we all love.
I am Jace Belair.
And I am Stoneforge Mystic.
It's just a really amazing game.
It's just mind-boggling to even think about. I guess the rest is history.
Pioneer's a cool format. I actually haven't played it a ton, to be totally honest. I play a lot of arena stuff on stream, and there's just so many formats now that, like, if I'm playing Magic Online, I'm usually playing Modern, but it's cool seeing a young format that's developing and not really completely there yet, and it's cool that it's unique from the other formats. What's up, I'm Jim Davis. I'm playing Izzet Drakes in the US Regional Championship at DreamHack. So I played the Phoenix deck a bit. I didn't really enjoy the Time Walk Galvanic Iteration package, and Phoenixes are also like being gunned for as far as exiling, stuff like that. But I like the Cruise part of the deck a lot. I love the Shredder part of the deck a lot. Those cards are really, really good. And I saw it on one of the Magic Online deck dumps. It was a 4 Crackling Drake deck with 4 Fables. So you're taking out the cards I don't like and putting in Fable and Drake, which is a really good card and a card that I really like. And you become sort of like this pseudo-control-y, pseudo-tempo-y deck where you just play a Drake, you untap, and usually you just kill them in a turn or two. Just kind of check the boxes that I wanted to check. I didn't prep too much for this event. I had Worlds a few weeks ago. I've been pretty busy with everything else, but deck looked cool. And here we are. Mana base is pretty simple. It's actually very similar to I think it's actually the exact same mana base as the Phoenix deck. We're playing a bunch of blue-red lands because you're playing a lot of cheap spells, and you've got the fast lands, the flip lands, shock lands, a couple Stormcarved Coasts. Don't love those. They're a little awkward early on, but obviously it's just double mana, pain-free, and a couple islands. That's really it. We see Spikefield Hazard also, which is like double duty, so pretty similar to Phoenix. So similar to Phoenix, 4-letter Shredder. Shredder is unbelievable. It's one of the best creatures in the format. For decks that can utilize it well, it's really, really good. With Cruise, like Shredder being this package with Cruise, you think about Shredder being good with Phoenix because, like, oh, this card the Phoenixes, but like just churning through your deck and turning Cruise on is really, really good also. So you can Cruise really fast with Shredder in play. And of course the big differentiation, like I said, is Crackling Drake and Fable the Mirror Breaker. So I have 4 Crackling Drake, a card that's usually seen as like a 1 of maybe in the sideboard. So my plan is to play a Drake, untap, and then kill you with it. And with Fable is really good with Drake on both sides because the token makes extra mana, so you can cast Drake and cast a spell also. And then with the backside of Fable, if you're ever copying a Drake, you're attacking for an unbelievable amount of damage, and you can do that out of nowhere. So I have a flip Fable in play, I'm kind of just hanging out, all of a sudden, here's a Drake, copy it, attack for 13. Less reliant on the graveyard, because Drake cares about cards in exile as well as your graveyard, which is huge. And just more of a one-shot kind of effect. Also against Shieldred, one of the really, really good cards against Phoenix. The Phoenix deck has to like chunk you and like maybe beat Shieldred over 2 or 3 turns, whereas this deck has the opportunity to just like one-shot you. So you have Shieldred in play, I lose a few life, and I just kill you. So that's kind of the idea there too. Like Phoenix, there's a lot of cheap cantrips, 4 Op, 4 Consider. It's funny to play a card that's like strictly worse than another card, because Op's just worse than Consider, but you want the cheap effects to draw. A lot of cheap removal, Fiery Impulse. Unfortunately, like, the deck is lacking a really consistent way to kill larger creatures. So your cheap kill spells like Fiery Impulse, you're playing 4. But as far as killing bigger things, there's 2 Obliterating Bolts, 2 Fires of Victory, which can kill larger things. You have the Spikefield Hazards, of course, a Strangle. It's a little bit of a variety pack. Most important thing is just playing as many cheap spells as possible to turn on Cruise and Shredder. And then beyond that, Cruise, most important card of the deck for sure. And then there's like a Fading Hope. It's like a hedge against like large things that resolve and so on and so forth. And then 3 Spell Pierce. I love Spell Pierce. I've been a Spell Pierce fan now for a couple of years. It's just so good. Sending back tempo on the draw, countering a Fable, a removal spell, a Cruise, a Planeswalker against the Fires deck's just so good against them. And the cool thing about the deck is because you're playing 4 Shredder and 4 Fable, you loot so much that if you draw a conditional card at some point, you just discard it, whatever. You almost want it in the graveyard to discard for a counter on the Shredder or just to delve for the Cruises as well. So at that, I think it's like one shore up also. It is an open decklist tournament, which changes the texture of things a little bit because you can't really surprise your opponent in deck building, but you can surprise them on the deck building sheet where they know you have 1 anger in your board or 1 shore up main. They got to think about that in the actual gameplay. It's kind of a variety pack again. It's a lot of 2-ofs because with a deck that has so much velocity is like how many cards you see per game, you can afford to play kind of 2 of each sideboard card because you'll find them eventually. And they also serve different hedges too. Like for example, last round I played against Mono Green, I brought in 2 Strokes and 2 Aether Gusts. And those kind of do similar things as far as like countering larger threats. So if you counter spells like that, a few more kill spells, Toothing in the Ice for like the Goad wide matchups for an extra threat, a couple Hearses, Mystical Dispute, more counter spells as well. It's not like a lot of hedging, honestly. You're not really changing your core strategy that much. You're mostly just supplementing and kind of like upgrading your cards. So against the control decks, you know, the Fiery Impulses go out and the Disdainful Strokes come in. And then vice versa against a creature deck and so on and so forth. The deck does seem quite good against small creature decks. It's also just like kind of deck where like has a lot of play to it. And I feel like comfortable playing the games as far as like in playing against anything. You know, it's not the kind of deck where like you're like, oh, I have this bad matchup. Oh crap, what am I gonna do? It's just fun. You just take a lot of game actions. You know, you kind of like, you're doing a lot of things. There's a lot of small places you make decisions. You're doing a lot of things, so your opponent has to decide things also. The deck has the ability to kind of like play kind of controlling a little bit, where you're just kind of killing stuff and drawing cards, but also the ability to be aggressive too. In the Izzet decks, because of all the card draw and the good sideboard cards, you see so many cards every game, you feel like you can beat anything, which is a really cool thing to have in a long tournament like this.
That's all we have for this episode. We'd like to thank Jim for giving us the time to be in the video. If you'd like to watch more content by Jim Davis, please check out the description below for more information. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in our next episode of Inside the Deck.